Hello, my fellow marketers. I do so wish I could be with you. I'm unfortunately stuck up at COP, and it was a bit difficult to find a guaranteed room because it's a bit like a Lemmings convention. I cannot describe to you how dull I know it is going to be, although I'm talking in advance, of having around 20,000 people all speaking in an echo chamber. And how do we affect a sort of change at a time when everybody watching today knows there is massive change sort of waiting in the wings. No one quite knows what that change is going to be. The one thing I do know for certain is that if we're going to adapt ourselves and make the best out of a future, which I truly believe remains ours to make, we need the power of the storytellers. And who are the best storytellers in the world? I would argue that we marketers, are those people. Of course, there are great authors, but the ability to capture an idea in the blink of an eye or in the drop of a piece of water is yours. And I wanted to take the opportunity offered to me by Sophie to have a chat with you, about 10 minutes long, about what I think we need to be doing or could be doing. The first thing is I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't have the bravery to say we need to be less stupid. We need to actually read a few things, watch a few things, and get away from the cliches of it's global warming, here's a poor polar bear on an ice cube. Bear in mind that the revolutions that are coming at us are major. We've got a huge change in energy all over the world. Under my feet, as I speak to you right now, our drill this morning hit 4,070 meters below ground. The temperature coming up the borehole is 150 degrees centigrade. We have got here on the Eden site what is called baseload, the holy grail of renewable energy, because it has always been said you can never power the world with renewables, even though as we looked up and the sun is shining and the wind is blowing and the waves are moving, it has seemed remarkable to almost everybody that's listening to me now that this has been the case. But baseload has been the argument that we have been waiting for. It is the ability that when the sun don't shine, when the wind don't blow, we've got energy that we can turn on at demand. For us here, it's 3.4 megawatts, which is a lot of power, about enough to do 17,000 homes. It will make Eden completely carbon negative. And in fact, with the solar arrays we're putting up all over our car parks over the next 8 months, we will be so carbon negative that if all our visitors came from the planet Venus, they would still be carbon negative for their trip to us. That's interesting, but actually this is happening all over the world. The combustion engine market will have collapsed probably by the middle of this decade. And as opposed to the IPCC, a wonderful body full of largely middle-aged people who have been wrong consecutively for every 3-year, 4-year stint of their reports, they really need to realize that it is possible that Britain, but actually most of the world, could be renewable energy based by 2030, not by 2100. That's one revolution coming to us, which is actually happening. It's happening under my feet. And why this is so important is this could happen all over the British Isles so quickly if we stopped stopped believing what we had been told by people in the past. We're going 5K down. In London, it's about 7K you need to go to get this sort of power. But as the drills become available to us, as fossil fuel demand gets lower, the drilling costs will get lower and lower, which means that we will be able to provide baseload across our country. Energy independent. We can become food independent. We know a little bit about this, but in a regenerational sense of growing almost everything we need. I meet a lot of people of a different political persuasion who tell me, why do we need to be food independent? We can buy it cheaply from overseas. Eden has a big project in China, and I talk a lot with my Chinese friends who find this very, very funny, that the British don't seem to realize that much of the growing area of Africa and various other places is being sponsored by them, and they need that food. We need to become local and independent as soon as possible. In case you didn't know, my friendly fellow marketeers, in the US of A right now, the clean meat business is worth £1.7 billion a year. It is set to double this year. The biggest entrant to the market by the end of this year is reputed to be the Chinese, who will have a huge investment in clean meat. So look at what that's going to do to the world of agriculture. Look also to that other great technological innovation, fermentation technology, which is basically using the technology you all know from distilling. So when you mention it in Britain, people giggle. Oh, isn't that funny? Fermentation technology. It's so funny that I can produce dairy protein at 30% of the cost that a cow can. Just imagine the world you are going to be looking at. Look at the agricultural land you're going to be looking at, the farms, the rural areas. What does localism actually mean in a world which is becoming decentralized? Look at transport. No one's going to be buying cars. They're going to be buying a sharing car, because why should young people who cannot even afford a house, why should they spend so much of their disposable income on something that they use 4% of the time? We're genuinely in revolutionary times. The key thing is that we're quite clever. It's not about silver bullets and technological fixes. One of my heroes is David Brailsford, who many of you will know is the guy who set British cycling on its course to go from being an also-ran to being an Olympic champion, and then took Sky to being championship holders of the Tour de France and what have you. And he has a very, very sane way of looking at the world. 0.25% here, 0.25% here, 1% there. It adds up. And slowly, the system that you've put in place enables a change almost effortlessly to take place. I think the role of us marketers is to provide truth to power at a certain level, but with a degree of wit. But most importantly, it is to convey a sense of the possibilities, the rich possibilities that are coming at us over the horizon, which, if we have the intelligence to change the way we operate, will leave our planet and ourselves a lot better off. I know that isn't a fashionable thing to say, because we do like doom and gloom. That's why the newspapers have got their lovely phrase, haven't they? If it bleeds, it leads. But actually, if it bleeds, it means there's life. And as long as there's life, there's hope. And as long as there's hope and there's clever little people running around the world, we can actually put our systems back together. Stop thinking in silos, think about complete things working and creating a power which adds up to 2 + 2 equaling far more than 4. It's the thing that excites me. It's where Eden is going. It's where our projects all over the world are going. We're building 17 of them now. They're all different. You know the thing that's the magic? It's not Eden, you know. It's actually standing with people and making people believe that they can actually have a sense of agency in the world that is coming towards us, rather than being the passive victims of something. We do not need to be passive victims. We can, together, in communities, in nations, mend things, repair things, and do the thing that I love more than anything else. I love kissing frogs, because when you kiss frogs, you create princes or princesses. And to me, that's the great challenge. I end by saying, in marketing terms, we bought this pit, which since we bought it has had 22, nearly 23 million visitors. We've made £2.3 billion for the local community. But the day we bought the pit was the day Google went public. Today it is not just a noun, it is an adjective and many other things beside. We've got computers in our homes, we've got smartphones everywhere, we've got electric cars, we've got geothermal energy, we've got solar energy, we've got wind energy, we've got medical advances beyond our imagining. I think our duty as marketers is to make our heroes, without a doubt, all the king's horses and all the king's men who put Humpty Dumpty together again. The only thing we need to do different is it is not the king's men, it is all of us, the kings, the queens, the people's people. Get with it, be proud of being a marketer. We are actually the vanguard of telling people there is a future that remains ours to make.